Okay, so we're back with part 2 as promised, talking about conflict.
Yes.
And I think we did a lot of theory and stuff like that in the first one. But I think for this one, we're going to share a little bit about our experience and how we've got from where we were when we first got together to where we are now.
Yeah. How we survived.
And what we survived, and what we put in place to enable us to not get worse in our conflict, how to improve upon it.
Not to get worse.
Worse? I didn't say worse.
Yeah?
I would never say worse. Yeah. So
Okay.
as we've touched on before, when we first got married, there was a lot of arguing, a lot of heads butting. We're both very stubborn, both very strong-willed.
We were both very stubborn. I'm not stubborn anymore. I'm a changed man.
So we're still waiting to see the evidence of that. I'm sure it's coming.
I thought we weren't doing evidence based.
No. There needs to be evidence that you're no longer stubborn.
Okay.
You clearly are. And also being very opinionated. Both of us. And so
Wow.
always has something to say about something.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm probably 60%.
More.
More Rob's. Yeah. So in the early days, we would argue pretty much about everything. And I think what caused a lot of our conflict, certainly for me anyway, is because we are very, very differently wired, if that makes sense. Yeah. So Rob's more laid back, I'm more go. So simple things used to frustrate me in the early days. So before we had the children, for example, when...
What didn't we argue about? I think it's too long to try to...
Well, this is the thing. But literally, from the moment I got up in the morning, and I accepted, okay, I don't sleep as much as Rob, so I'd get up, but then he'd still be like an hour, 2 hours, 3, he's still sleeping. And I'm like, the day is going. And that, at first I'd be like, oh yeah, let him sleep. Then it would go from let him sleep to like, is he for real? And then is he for real would go to for crying out loud. And then for crying out loud would go to, you know what, let's not bother. And by the time you get out of bed, I'm like, I'm just vexed
you
now.
like I was a bum.
So I'd wake up, no you were. So I'd wake up and I'm already vexed. But it's obviously been a process for me over a period of time. And even things like, I think we mentioned before that you would take a week off, I would take 3 days because you just wanted to sleep. And like on his holiday, on his annual leave, his idea of annual leave was sleep. No. And I'm thinking, I am not wasting my annual leave to just sleep. I can sleep at night, every night. So I said, right, take a whole week, Monday, Tuesday, sleep. Wednesday, I'll sleep with you. Thursday, Friday, we're going somewhere. And then it would be like, well, where are we going? Why are we going? What's the point of that? You know? And then I'd be annoyed.
You finished?
No, there's more. So things like that used to frustrate me. And it got to a point where every time it happened, it created a new layer of frustration. And it would just pile up, and then in the end it would blow. So it was just things like that. And I think with Rob as well, your character is one that if I say it or mention it, he's less likely to do it. So where I was constantly saying things, he would stick his heels in and it's like, well, I'm not doing it now then. And so that wouldn't be done. And so I'd get more upset and then you'd get upset because I'd be on at you. And you see how we were in a constant cycle of vexedness all the time. Yeah? Am I lying?
Can I say something now?
You can say something.
Oh, thanks. So...
There's nothing to say.
No, there's nothing to say. This was a pattern of our early relationship. Just, I suppose, being oblivious to Sonia's patterns of self-talk, I suppose. Yeah. So I would get the outcome or attitude or behavior and I'd be like, hello, you okay? Yesterday was fine. How does something so small then explode into this barrage of this has happened, that happened then, this is it's a pattern now, it's a build up, blah, blah, blah. Hold on. As far as I'm concerned, we're living like married bliss right now. Everything's cool. So how do we go from being okay to like me feeling like I'm the worst husband in the world? Or a bum, like I'm sleep. No, I'm not sleeping all the time. I just enjoy more sleep than you do. So, and having that understanding that I would need more sleep than Sonia does, is still something that we work through right now. And I think at that time, I was just like, you know what? I wouldn't say whatever, but my attitude would be like, you still talking? Have you finished yet? And when she's talking, I'll be looking at her like,
Hang on, you wouldn't actually say that.
Say what?
Are you still talking?
No, but my face and my attitude would be like,
oh right, okay, because that would have been war. Yeah,
it was war anyway. So let's go. Let's do this. So the thing is, at that stage, I think even though how was I when we got married? 28?
28? Yeah.
Yeah, there's still levels of immaturity, still levels of, like, you're not telling me what to do, like, yeah.
I think there was still a part of you that, not all of you, but part of you still wanted to live the single, not live the single life, but operate the way you always had done.
Yeah.
In your activities, your output, your whatever. Yeah.
And I think it was about identity, us finding our identity in a relationship. So I was of the view like, you're trying to change everything about me. So why did you marry me? If everything about me irritates you, you got a view on. Like, hello? You know? So, and that was the attitude for me. It was like, look, this is what you signed up for. This is it. Not saying I'm not going to change, but deal with it. Like, how are you getting so upset about this small thing? Like, wow. And I'd be like, this is...
But you wouldn't say it. That's the thing. So
but then it'll come out in like... But it'll come out in attitude. It'll come like... Yeah, that was it. It was just like...
But I think that was part of the issue, is that you wouldn't actually vocalise what how you were feeling about how I was behaving. And so it felt like I was just...
But I don't think I had the skills to communicate, because it would have come out in aggression. It would have come out in fire. So for me, it was just better to just not say what I'm really
And
feeling.
this is one of the things that we do teach, is rather than say nothing in the hope that it will wash away or will all be okay in the morning, is even if you, like you said, you didn't have the skills and therefore what would have come out was anger, is we're trying to get people to understand, rather than say nothing, say that. Say, look, I'm concerned that if I answer you right now, it's going to come out of aggression and anger, and therefore it's best that I don't say anything, because the way I'm feeling now is A, B, and C, or whatever. And at least try and explain that at the very least. But it was nothing.
I wasn't even at that stage. Because it was the cost of, again, when I say cost, I mean time. In my view, that time wasted talking about emotions and how I feel and blah blah. I'm not. That's not what I do. That's not how I manage.
But then the outcome was
definitely, because
negative.
again, I hadn't prepared myself fully for a relationship, for being sharing of myself. I wasn't at that stage.
And my issue was I was trying to control everything, and I don't think I was trying to control Rob, but in my attempt to control, Rob's a part of that.
Yeah, that's it. Part of
journey.
That. Yeah,
you know. And so, for example, when I'd get up in the morning or the day before, in my mind, I would think it would be good to do this, or it'd be nice to do that, or maybe we could, do the kitchen together, or whatever it was. And then I'd wake up. Rob would be oblivious to any of this thought pattern, and I wouldn't necessarily express it. And as I said, it might happen when I get up in the morning and Rob's still asleep. So I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting, and the day is going, and I'm thinking, right, well, that's not going to happen then, because clearly, what's the point in driving to Cambridge now? By the time we get there, it'll be time to come back.
Imagine.
And then Rob will get up to this, and I'm just vexed, and he's like, what's wrong with you? And now I don't want to expose myself and be vulnerable and say, well, I was kind of hoping we'd go for a day trip in the country, or we'd go to see so-and-so or whatever.
Cambridge, where am I going to Cambridge for?
Well, yeah, right. That as well. And then,
Saturday afternoon, it's like football, match of the day's on, lunch, like it's a Saturday after a week's work, whatever, like, well, I want to go and drive to Cambridge, to sit down. Like, and that was my mindset. That was me. Where I was.
And because Rob you weren't really exposed to those things. You didn't do those things growing up. You didn't do those things in your previous dating and all that kind of thing. So in his mind, it was nonsensical. Why would you do that? And yet, when we did start to do those things, you really enjoyed them. And it frustrated me even more, because I'm thinking, look, we could have been doing this for years.
No, yeah, but obviously it's a season and change, so. I think at that point...
I think the resistance, wasn't it? It was the resistance to kind of try. Why don't we try waking up early? Why don't we try going to Cambridge? Why don't we try it? And you were like, no.
Because I had my pattern of what worked for me.
When you were not married.
Yeah, and then you had your pattern of what worked for you. And then I think that...
Yeah, but I think my planning, you see, the way that we both came to each other in the relationship is I had years of preparation from God prior to being married. You came straight raw in
on the job training, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I think it was unfair of me, I guess, to expect Rob to be straight on it like that, or to even agree with it. But what I was trying to communicate is, if you want to go and play football every Saturday and then come back and sit and watch it, What am I supposed to? I can do my own thing. I'm very independent. I can do my own thing, but we're supposed to be married now and kind of doing life together. Yeah. And so we were still doing life very separately, and that frustrated.
And I think our history of conflict was, both of us, was once it gets too much or you're irritating me, we're done. We're out. Like, so my attitude and
previous
relationships, yes. And it wasn't a thing where it was like footloose and fancy free, but I think there was no, for me, history or traction of managing conflict well.
Yeah.
In the sense of being in a long-term relationship where we had systems and mechanisms where we'd have that reflection time or communication. It wasn't like that. So,
no, for either of us. We both had been in relationships previously where we would, it'd be going a bit wrong or there'd be a bit of conflict and we'd just walk away.
Yeah, I don't even walk away, but you just make it fizzle out, or there wasn't that buy-in. So coming into married life, deposits paid now, like engagement ring, and we're committed to each other and preparing for marriage and in marriage. So there was no get out clause. So there was that, I think, fear of losing identity and self. For me, was like, look, if I compromise or if I not back down but adapt and change the way that I do this, what is it going to look like in 5 years' time? I did some planning there. Some kind of foresight.
Yeah, like, but in a sense of I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Okay, let me give you a little bit. I'm happy to compromise and talk, but hey, you're not gonna control this.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. You're not gonna.
And the thing is, it was what upset me then was the simple things like if we were going somewhere, like a wedding or something, and I said, "Do you want me to pick you up something?" No, I can dress myself.
But that wasn't conflict.
Now
that wasn't
it's
conflict,
like,
was it? That wasn't.
No, that was it. It would vex me. Because I think I'm trying to serve you, I'm trying to help you. But Rob identified it, understandably, he identified it as I'm trying to dress him, I'm trying to dictate to him what he should wear for the occasion that we're going out to. Yeah. So he resisted that big time for a long time. Whereas now it's completely the opposite. Yeah. It's like, babe, whatever, just pick me up something, don't care. Yeah. But I think it took years of gaining trust that I wasn't trying to physically treat you like a mannequin. And dress you the way I wanted to see you dress. It was more about, I want to serve you and I love shopping, and buying stuff for you gives me another excuse to go out and shop. And so that took a bit of time to understand. Then I
suppose we had that defining moment where we had our conversation after conflict, like just ongoing, and me saying I didn't sign up for this. This is not what my vision of marriage was. Being a Christian as well, kind of just navigating life. As in having constant conflict or spread out conflict, and then being in church environments and social environments and having to manage those emotions of actually not wanting to be around you, but we're not at a good place. And having to be in public and be in church. And that kind of stuff was that was turmoil. Spiritually, it was like, wow, like so hard to manage. And then we got to the stage where we had a conversation. Look, we can't do this anymore.
It was after a long period of conflict, and it was the worst we'd ever had. And we both knew if it carries on like this, there's no future in this relationship. But there was no option. It wasn't. We never ever went into the relationship or the marriage with the option to divorce or to split up. And so we knew that wasn't an option. So it's like, well, it's either we continue the rest of our lives like this in turmoil, or we've got to fix it.
And I think when it talks about having a vision, that I couldn't see how we could continue to be married but not have conflict in the way that we had it. Because all that I knew is all that we knew. So even if we talk about our short history of like even being a year in marriage and 2 years in relationship, our successes or dealing with conflict well were few and far between. So we're having this conversation and I'm like, I can't see how you doing that or behaving in that way is not going to make me feel the way that I feel and respond. I couldn't see it, kind of thing. And it took time out for us to actually reflect and think, right, the next time it happened, almost planning for conflict moving forward.
Well, it was going to come, so you might as well.
Almost like planning for it, right. So when it happens next time a situation comes up, in my mind, I'm thinking, right, Rob, don't do this, don't say this, don't respond in that way, because you know it's going to end up in this way. And that was hard. But
the thing is, I suppose you weren't giving yourself any dues. Don't do that. What does that leave? You're stripping yourself back, I suppose.
Yeah, but the dues were, again, I couldn't picture that, because I've never done that. It was walking into the unknown.
Our detriment was that neither of us came from a home with both parents present. Neither of us had historical relationships that we could say that they were successful,
there was no blueprint,
long-term, positive examples of relationships. So we didn't really know we didn't have anything to model on.
Yeah, because the relationships that I had been in before weren't at the level of this. This was obviously for most people, like obviously some people, you're engaged for the first time. You're going to marriage for the first time. It's not like you've got a track record, but the construct of my relationships before weren't that loving, building, and we see a future in this. So for me, it was a thing where if I had conflict before, it was like, all right, cool.
I'm out.
Cool. Not even I'm out, just
out for the moment.
For that moment, yeah, we're done. Now, and that's it. And we just kind of come back and like, okay, happy face, happy communication, text, so it wasn't ever dealt with and required to dig deep.
Yeah.
And say, do you know what? I need to change. I never, I've never experienced that. I've got to make sure I avoid it, or I don't do that again. But not, I have to change.
Right.
And I think that's probably was a point in our relationship where I was like, right, you know what? For this to work, I'm gonna have to change. Oh man, like,
what does that look like?
What does that look like? There was no. And again, even though I was around married guys, I had a few people. We'd never gone to that deep level where man said to me, this is where I was at in my relationship, and I had to change so much, and I didn't have that blueprint. I had guys I spoke to that I could offer advice, but I had no blueprint saying, right, if he can do it, I can do it.
But the danger with the advice is that you have to almost somewhat expose your partner to be able to get the advice, and you have to talk about what exactly is going on.
And about myself, I'm super private. I don't do
you're on YouTube sharing that to the world.
I was super private in that sense, and I'm like, again, like I said, social media. Now, if I'm doing maybe because my lifestyle was kind of just like on a low. So I wasn't a kind of out there kind of person.
Public persona.
That kind of stuff. Even if I had a girlfriend or was in a relationship, it wasn't a thing where it was like, it was just different. So maybe that's what I'm not used to. I wasn't used to that. Of actually exposing myself. Like, you know what? I struggle with anger, or I'm struggling with this. I don't know how to deal with it. Saying I don't know how to deal with this, what kind of conversation is that? That's not in my vocabulary.
Still not.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay, maybe not with me. Maybe you say, I don't know. Maybe I don't hear it. Yeah.
You do hear it, but it's just not enough as the requirement that you have.
All right.
So now,
to be discussed.
We deal with conflict very different now.
We do. So we had the changing moment.
Yep.
And I think what's relevant about the changing moment is what can often happen in relationships is that one partner decides, I need to change, or there needs to be a change. Something needs to change. And they go through the motions of portraying themselves differently, or offering an olive branch, or doing whatever it takes to bring the change. But the other person is still carrying on as normal, or they're in a stubborn state of play where they say, right, well, okay, I'm going to wait. Let me see what you're going to offer me now. And then I will decide whether I'm going to respond to that with change, or whether I'm going to say, you see, this is what you've always done. And you're back here again. And so we got to a point together, thankfully,
power of agreement,
after a whole week of not speaking and being in conflict, we got to a point at the same time, because we sat down and said, right, this cannot carry on. And we had a discussion, and we laid down some ground rules, which we've stuck to today. We've stuck to until today.
That's right,
and thankfully we've been able to do that. But also we brought the change in at the same time.
Yeah. And I think that's because we were able to pick through the pieces of our history of conflict.
Yeah.
And it wasn't you always do this, or there wasn't one of us that were more antagonistic or were more to blame.
No, we were
conflict.
both,
So we were both able to say, you know what, I do this, and you were like, I do this too, and actually, you know what?
And even there wasn't even that much of that, because that was still hard for us at that stage. There was a little bit, but not a lot. It was more about, right, this is the way going forward. we're no longer going to.
Yeah.
So we began to eliminate certain things.
For both of us, yeah.
For both of us.
Yeah.
And then we were able to walk down that road. And I think because one of the things I think we do well is and you're better than I am, is that we tend to implement things straight away.
Yeah.
So we had the conversation that evening, and by the next day, we started to apply the changes. Yeah. So where I could see, right, Rob was changing and trying, I was changing and trying. It's like both of us are trying.
It fuels that flame.
Yeah. So then the next day it's like, and then we started to get the feeling of, oh, this is good.
I remember that time we had that conversation that we haven't argued for about a month.
Not a month.
Yeah, well, in my eyes it was a month.
It was a week.
No, a month. Trust me. And I think that those successes, those building blocks gave us evidence to say, you know what, we can do this.
This can happen.
This can work. We can actually have situations that might irk or grate us, and it doesn't have to escalate to a point where we're not happy with each other. We can just communicate it, and even in times agree, disagree on subjects, and be like, okay, let's keep it moving. And I think that really built a resolve in me to enjoy that space of a happy home.
Yes.
And make sure that I do things before they get to the point of angst or whatever, to be able to create that home for us. And even though obviously we still have conflict, it's different now. Yeah. And I think because we're more invested as well. So
and our kids are watching.
Yeah, so there's a higher price now. So our expectation of each other is higher.
The thing is, it was around the time when we had that conversation that God started to call us into the relationship ministry. Yeah. So we're carrying a huge responsibility. We cannot live in conflict and all that. And then go out and teach the opposite. Yeah. And we know that people are watching us, and we have to constantly say to them, don't desire what we have, because you don't know. You don't want to walk that journey. Do you know what I mean? You don't know what it took to get there and what we live with on a daily basis. Yeah. But it's good. We do understand that there are so many people who can honestly hold their hands up and say they don't have role models. They don't have marriages that they aspire to. Yeah. They don't have male or female or couples together that they could say, do you know what, there's a model that I'd like to, you know.
And I think it's increased now. I think especially, I suppose, in the circles that we're in and the people that we're around, there's more couples now that are married, that are desiring not to do things the right way, because everyone's intention is to do things the right way, but are more relatable.
Well, yeah, and I think the good thing is that God's given us a lot of access to those couples to say, and we're quite blunt with them, and we'll say, listen, stop that now, you know. But the good thing is that we're able to speak into their situation at a very, very early stage of their marriage, and then we give them, you have a choice, and it's not about us, but God is watching you, and you know, but you have a responsibility. God has given me this gift. What am I going to destroy him or build him up?
And what's been refreshing is that we've been able to share the same principles with people that are not Christians as well, that are not of faith, kind of thing, and that was new for us as well in the last few years. And it's been great, it's been amazing kind of thing, because this relationship, this is one thing that everybody goes through kind of thing. So we handle our conflict very different now. I think we've improved a lot.
We have. I mean, it has been gradual.
Yeah, there's still room for a lot more improvement. Yeah. Kind of thing.
But the more we've handled conflict well, the more attractive it becomes. Yeah. So we know that we'll never get to a place where we do not argue. And I don't think I'd ever want to, because I think certain things, you know, you
arguments are good, man. It's healthy. It's healthy, man.
Yeah, because it brings results.
And it brings intimacy, it brings change, it brings reflection, it brings a substance to your relationship. Again, not intentionally going into conflict, but it happens. It's life. It happens. And I think if you, again, some couples will say we don't have conflict. Okay, that means you're biting your tongue. That means you're swallowing stuff. That means you're potentially sweeping stuff under the carpet that will come back and bite you on your bum. Potentially, if you don't, great. Share with me your formulas. If you don't have conflict in your marriage, please.
But it depends on what conflict looks like to each individual, because some people see conflict as literally being aggressive, shouting, throwing things, or whatever. Other people see it as, you know, silence. I mean, we saw a couple in the park the other day, we arguing, and they were quite civilized about it. I mean, it was clear that they were having words, but they weren't shouting, they weren't being aggressive, they were just explaining themselves. So there's different forms, and conflict can be identified in different ways. Definitely. But I think to have a complete and utter absence, remember the couple that came and shared with us, the older couple that came and shared that they don't have conflict, they don't argue, they don't think, and what happened was, because of the absence of conflict or even communication or conversation or whatever, she was suffering from depression and mental health illness. I don't remember that. You don't remember that one? No. And he was happily going along in life, thinking all was well, but she had suppressed all of her feelings and what she would have liked to say, and just kind of put her head down and got on with life. And then it was like 30 years or something later, their kids are grown. She's now saying like, this is what I went through in silence because I wasn't able to work things out with him, you know, and I think he was totally oblivious as well, to be honest. And that's the danger.
So this thing I would say is about when you do have conflict, always review and reflect. And it hasn't got to be formal, but even as an individual, review and reflect, but also as a couple, kind of having that picking through the pieces and working out, talking about feelings and emotions, and about if and when it happens again, what strategies you can put in place to support each other in that, and kind of that would help communication. Because what it does, it distracts you, it takes you off your purpose, it puts you self in center and not being able to focus on what God's doing. It affects your prayer life. It affects everything. If you're not happy in your relationship and you've got conflict constantly in your marriage, it affects everything. The thought of coming home is like skipping a heartbeat, and that what ifs, that's those scenarios that you play through your head. If she says this, I'm going to say this, and then I'll think about the next month. I'll look at my calendar and think, right, this is drama now for this coming up on Saturday. Stuff with the kids, that kind of stuff. It costs so much. Even
on a daily basis, the time it's spent having conflict and having to talk through things, potentially add some sulking in there, some clearing up if you've thrown things, all the way. It just takes up valuable time that you could use doing other things.
Yeah, and I think especially in this season of life that we're in, and I think the season of life that as a people, again, I'm talking from a faith perspective that we're in right now in this country and in the world, time is something that you can't buy back.
No.
And the time that's lost in conflict and relationship is so precious. And I think for me, that's the one thing that I'm so super conscious about, is that our good times and the health and the blessings that we have in our lives now, I don't want to waste that on dealing with my issues and myself and my pride and my stubbornness. I want to eliminate that as much as I can for us to prosper, to invest in ourselves and each other and our kids and people that are around us, and to live a life spent empty. I want to live this life and spend and be emptied out, knowing that we haven't wasted years and years and years of dealing with some things that we were too stubborn to or too blind to kind of resolve at the earlier stages. So,
do you know what stands out for me as well when you say that is the giftings that we have, the giftings, the talents, the dreams, the visions that we have within us individually and together. What I miss most when I'm not talking to Rob because I'm upset or when you're not about or whatever is the giftings that God has given Rob for me. So when I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm always doing something different, you know, it could be different every day. I like the availability of being able to run things by Rob, because Rob is one of those characters that will literally come up with an idea or a concept or a phrase or something that no one else had thought of. And so I'll be battling on with this thing on the laptop or whatever, and I'll read it to him and say, well, what about that? Oh, that's it. That is it. But when I'm not talking to him, I don't
and
get
vice versa,
that.
just being able to just share, just to be able to, it's odd, it's alien. Like now, if we're not at a good place and I don't really want to, the atmosphere is not right for me to message you or call you, I feel like I'm losing because I'm not able to share my excitement or what's going on and what the plans are, that kind of stuff. So time is precious, man. And we're both the type of characters, we like to run things by each other. So you might type an email and say, can you just run your eye over it? I might write a blog or something. Oh, babe, you know what? Guess what happened, blah, blah, blah. In the moment, it's like it's lost kind of thing. So again, I always say this, and sometimes you tell me off for saying it to people. What? Like if I say, like, give us a shout, seek help. If you're struggling, I think you always need an outlet, I think. And it's not about exposure, it's about trusted people that have walked that road that can just say, look, you know what, fix up, you're being dumb. Are you realising how much you're wasting or, what? She was only that upset. You're lucky, but if that was me, I would have been blah, 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 blah. Kind of thing. So I think it puts it into context when you're able to share in a safe environment with the right people where you're at. I think, you know what, there's a wholeness in being with a group of people who are a similar stage of life to you, and without exposing yourself or your partner wholly and fully, but just being able to talk about some of the stuff that you may be struggling with, and realizing that A, you're normal, you know, because we all go through it, but B, that there are strategies and ways around it that don't seem quite so enormous as the mountain
in front of you, it could literally be a pebble or a rock that you just need to pick up and move out of the way. And yet when you look at the big picture, it's like, no, I'd have to be a completely different person to be able to make this happen. And you don't. But just realizing that, you know what, it's okay, you're normal. That stage of a relationship, or that, you know, when a baby comes and all these different things, it's quite normal. So it's I think is a great idea to get around people, individuals or groups of people to literally just share, open up, or just even listen
definitely
to what they have to say.
100%. So hopefully you got some ideas, some tools, some practical things you can do. So
we need some practical things. I don't think we've
given some practical things.
I think a practical thing I can think of that we do now is that we don't stretch it out. We don't long it out. So if I'm feeling frustrated, at the earliest sensible opportunity, i.e. not when Rob's about to get in the car to go to do a job, or not when, you know, the children are surrounding us, or when there's people around, whatever, is being able to say, right, okay, I'm struggling a little bit because, or when this happened, but, you know, and even after the conversation, the conflict, not making that you've spoken about it now. Why are you still sulking? Why are you still like, you know? And I hold my hands up for that because it takes me a while to kind of come down from the ledge, you know, and just sort of, you know. But I think what I tend to do is to continue. I've learned to continue talking to Rob in that resolution till we get to a place where the tone has dropped and it feels a bit lighter, and we've got some solutions or conclusions or whatever, and I feel like I can go off with a plan now, you know, of change or of, you know, whatever it is. So that would be my nugget, is to just minimize the length of time that the stuff goes on for.
Okay, and then my nugget would be about honesty and transparency within reason. Honesty with yourself, being able to admit where you've gone wrong, and being transparent. Again, time is everything. Transparent about how certain things make you feel, because that will explain to the person why you reacted in that way. Because I feel like whatever, disrespected or vulnerable or whatever it is, or this is an ongoing thing, or you're trying to do this, or this is how I feel. I think especially for long-term change, that level of transparency where you can talk and not be judged about it, or be held against you. Oh yeah, you're soft because when I say this, that kind of stuff. So that's what I would say, honesty and transparency. So
I think also separation isn't the answer. I'm not talking about long-term separation that leads to divorce. I'm talking about periods of separation, whether it be for, you know, an hour, a night, or whatever, and be careful who you talk to about you, because there are some people who say, you know what, no, I'm going to my mum's. If it was me, I would just leave him and I would just let him stew in it, and I'd let him understand what it's like to miss you. And I would listen, that person probably isn't married if they're telling you that. Don't spend time apart in the hope of dealing with the situation, unless of course you're in danger. That's different. If there's a physical danger, get out. Get out, get safe. But if it's a case where you just want to talk and he's not willing to talk, or she's not willing to talk, or whatever, go in, work it out, sort it out, start somewhere. But don't feel like the answer is to sleep on the sofa, sleep in the spare room, go to your mum's, go to see a friend, I mean, when now a week when we didn't talk, I think you did gym, I did shopping, we did everything we could to stay out of the house in the evenings, like after work, so that we didn't have to come home to the madness, or to the silence, really, because it wasn't madness. But don't do that. Don't do that.
Cool. That's it.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. We're done. See you next time.
Yes.